Thank you. Right, let's return to the top story, the future of Humza Yousaf, the Scottish First Minister. As Leah just said, Sky News understands he's considering resigning as early as today. We can speak now to Lorna Slater, co-leader of the Scottish Green Party. Lorna, thanks so much for joining us. Whether it's of his own decision today or because of a vote of confidence in the days ahead, has Humza Yousaf only got himself to blame if he does lose his job?
Yes, I think so. I think he showed very poor judgment to suddenly collapse a pro-independence majority government when we'd worked together really well for 2.5 years. We'd achieved some great things. We'd lifted 90,000 children out of poverty in Scotland, and we had more great things planned ahead. Rent controls, implementing more tenants' rights, work on the climate and on nature emergency. And he just threw that away all of a sudden.
Have you spoken to him in the last couple of days? Why do you think he did throw it away all of a sudden, to use your words?
I think he was under pressure from the sort of conservative and reactionary right wing of his party. The SNP has always been a broad, quite a broad church, but Humza Yousaf had been leading a proudly progressive government, and we were proud to be part of that. And one of the few governments in the world that is not only cooperative, two parties setting aside their differences, working together on things that really mattered to us, tackling child poverty, tackling the climate crisis, and to suddenly throw away a parliamentary majority that was in favor of independence because of pressure from a few, more conservative backbenchers, I think was poor judgment.
I wonder whether you're in a moment where it's a sort of be careful what you wish for type scenario. What is your aim? Would you like to see a new leader of the SNP and then quickly striking a similar deal to the one that you had in place for the last 2.5 years? Or would you, in fact, welcome fresh Scottish parliamentary elections?
I don't think another deal like the Butte House Agreement is on the table. That took months to negotiate and was ratified by votes within both parties. So both party memberships voted on that deal. So reassembling something like that after the trust has been lost between the parties, I think is probably unrealistic. The SNP are still the largest party in Holyrood. They have the right to attempt to form the government. So what I think they will do, or what I hope they will do, is put forward a candidate for First Minister who can command the confidence of the Parliament. And then I assume they will continue to govern as a minority party. And as the Greens have done in past governments of that type, we would choose to work with them on a case-by-case basis, depending on whether we thought their legislation was ambitious enough on the kind of things that are important to us, on climate, on equalities, and so on.
And there's no candidate within the SNP that you'd be willing to strike a coalition deal with?
I need to be clear about that. The cooperation deal was initiated by Nicola Sturgeon when she was the First Minister. She approached us and asked us if we would like to join in a cooperation agreement. So it would be up to the SNP to approach us if they wished to go into such an agreement, and something like that isn't currently on the table.
Do you think that new elections would be something that benefit your party?
That does remain to be seen. We certainly have been polling very well in the last couple of years. People like what they hear. As people become more and more aware of the climate crisis, they are keen to see governments do something about it and keen to see more Greens elected, certainly. So while it could benefit us as a party, I think Scotland would benefit from stable governance. We do have a lot of challenges on the table, and if the SNP are able to put up a candidate that can command a parliamentary majority in terms of supporting their appointment, then it is their right to do so.
You mentioned the aspect that you had, a pro-independence government enjoying a majority based on the coalition. At what point do you pause and assess all of this and say, whoever was right, whoever was wrong, whoever triggered all of this, the people that are benefiting most of all are the non-independent supporting parties?
Well, that is one of the more disappointing things about the events of last Thursday. Not only does it, break apart what had been a very strong pro-independence cooperation agreement, but it also lets down future generations on the climate crisis. There is no way we can do anything other than be very, very ambitious in getting Scotland back on target to meet its ambitious climate targets. And we know we're not on that trajectory. We know the Climate Change Committee has told us that we're not. And without Scottish Greens in the room, how on earth are we going to protect future generations from the climate emergency?